This headline caught my attention because I think it's really a reflection of where society has gone just the last several years. You could say just the absurdity of the times that we live in, that this is really controversial. Grant, I can see how people can be offended by it, but it just makes me shake my head just processing this because I've made jokes about these types of things being controversial, with my friends and whatnot. But this is like, wow, I still shake my head at this. It's not really a big deal, but I guess it depends on who you are. That if you're a small person, obviously you could be offended by it, but I just think I'm just like, damn, like we really got to this point where things like this can blow up. But here goes. So Bill Walton, some of you guys probably don't know who he is, depending on how old you are. But for me, he will always be that crazy, weird white guy I grew up watching during the 90s on NBC that would say just absurd things that I didn't realize until I was 18 that this guy doesn't believe anything he says. Like he would say some crazy, wild stuff. Like, for example, I remember one time watching a Spurs game where, excuse me, that Tim Duncan was going off. I think it was like Game 6 of the 2003 second round playoffs against the Lakers, the game where they dethroned the Lakers. And I remember Duncan had this amazing game, and he was just like, Tim Duncan is doing it all today. He's doing it against the greatest defensive player of his era, Robert Horry. It was just absurd. He would say crazy stuff like that, and and people would just shake their heads. But once you knew he didn't really believe in any of the stuff he said, you could laugh at it. So that's what made Bill Walton really funny to me when I became a young adult. I just realized that this guy is not serious. He's just saying crazy things just for saying crazy things to get a reaction out of people. And they weren't offensive. I never found anything he said offensive growing up during the 90s. I guess if he was insulting your favorite player, you would be offended, but I never found him offensive. But I just want to read the controversial statements he said. So he called his fellow broadcast partner a midget twice during a Arizona State game, which was Arizona State versus USC. I think Arizona won that game 77-72. So I'm just reading what he said. Okay, this is what he said. He said, he does not need a little chair because he's a giant in a world of shriveling midgets. And speaking of shriveling midgets, what was your name again? He asked his play-by-play announcer, David Posh. Posh responded, what's wrong with you? What you consumed at halftime. So this got the attention of the Little People of America, a nonprofit organization that provides support and information to people of short stature and their families, caught wind of Walton's language and was not happy with what it heard, according to this article. So I'm going to just read a few of these quotes. Those who use the term midget or any terminology that further stigmatizes people born with dwarfism are asked to educate themselves to eradicate this word. This word is deplorable and inexcusable. Here's another quote. Little People of America is asking Bill Walton to issue an apology and vow to use appropriate terminology rooted in respect and dignity going forward. We hope that in the future David Posh will speak up against disparaging language in solidarity with our organization fighting for disability, equity, and justice. So I don't know how tall this David Posh guy is. Obviously, anybody standing to Bill Walton is going to be a midget. Well, at least if you're the average man, you're going to be a midget standing next to him. There's no shame being small, standing next to a 7-footer, but I just want to look up his picture of this guy so I can get an idea of how tall he is. David Posh. Let's see how tall this guy is. Let's do Google Images. Can't really see how tall he is. Judging by the pictures of him just sitting next to people. Okay, here's a good shot of him actually interviewing LeBron. A picture of him standing right next to LeBron. He looks several inches shorter than LeBron, so it looks like he's probably somewhere in the range of 5'10" to 6 feet. probably not 6 feet, most likely 5'10", 5'11". He's regular height. So he's not a midget. I don't think Posh was offended by what Bill Walton said. I had to watch the clip. I have a feeling that they had some funny banter going on. So, but this is just insane. I just feel we've gotten to a point as a society that I could say my favorite meal is, I don't know, just is a hamburger, and people would just hate on me simply because they would be animal rights activists saying like, hey, don't you know cows were slaughtered for this or blah blah, and it's insane. I just feel some people are just looking to be offended for being offended. It's like a sport now, and I really think this shows this. I don't think Bill Walton should apologize for this, but this is just a sign of the times we live in today. That's the way I look at it. Let me know what you guys think.